Hey film fans! Welcome to CinePro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps. From heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters, we summarize for you the movie Upside Down Magic. The film is classified as fantasy and was released in 2020. I hope you enjoy watching it. Nuri, the heroine of our film, tells us that her mother told her 2 words to always remember. Every person has a unique feature and a benefit, even if they are unaware of it. One day, they will be able to use it well. Then she tells us, unfortunately, not everything stays perfect. After she turned 7, she and her father were left alone. But it didn't affect them much because they were occupied with something more important. We see her cutting the cat in the garden from the window. After focusing on it for a while, she starts growing a mustache and nearly turns into a cat. Her father enters and nearly has a heart attack when he sees her. Then, several years later, she appears again, telling us that, thankfully, after 6 years of waiting, the awaited day has come, and she is about to fulfill her dream and go to Seer. She will present her magic in front of all the famous sorcerers in the world. Then, it turns out she was encouraging her friend Rina because she is always nervous, while Nuri is never nervous, always hopeful and happy. Rina tells her not to exaggerate, but Nuri responds that she is amazing, and they both laugh. And she tell her, "Show your abilities to the audience, my dear." She clasped her hands together and a ball of fire came out. And we learn that Rina is also a witch with extraordinary abilities and she will go to Seer too. Then here she tells her, "Come on, it's your turn, show the audience the beautiful animals." And Nuri tries to turn into a cat, but she turns into a cat and at the same time a kangaroo. But Rina doesn't let her feel that something is wrong and tells her, "Wow, you're an artist, what a beauty. This is like Harry Potter and his friends." She replied, "Thank you, my dear," and they return to their nature happy that they will go to Seer school tomorrow. The next day, every extraordinary child stood with their father and mother, or both waiting not knowing what to expect. The school had told them to come and wait in that place. Nothing more. After a while, Nuri gets bored and asks her father if something is supposed to come to take them. He reassures her. Suddenly, they hear the sound of frightened birds flying in the forest and the sound of moving trees. They think a spaceship is landing or the ground will crack open. But a man emerges from the forest, telling them their journey ends here. Any parent should leave their child so they can proceed. He takes the children into the forest and they started making noise and he said, No, we don't want noise, please, because the loud noise will attract the forest monsters." They all got scared and started looking around. He said, "What is this? I'm joking with you guys. There are no monsters or anything. Don't worry, just lower your voices." They said, "Okay." And then Nuri said to Rina, "Isn't that Joe? What's wrong with him? Why is he upset?" She approached him and said, "How are you, Joe? What a nice bag." He didn't reply, and she teased him in front of all the kids, saying, "It's okay, it's not a big deal. He's the loser, really, guys." Then the guide came and stood in front of a gate, and he entered and disappeared while they were amazed. Then they entered together and found themselves in a strange and very beautiful place, and all the children entered after them. Inside, there were people playing with fire and riding with it in the air, transforming into animals, and flying around. They enter a building where the principal welcomes them and explains the school is divided into sections, one for flying, one for talking to animals, one for controlling fire, one for transforming into any animal, and one for attracting objects. Each child is excited to see the section they belong to. The principal tells them that dreams aren't free here. Each will undergo a specific test to determine their competence and which section they will join. The fire section starts testing by lighting candles with their hands. Students enter one by one, showing their abilities. Rina performs exceptionally well, impressing the evaluators. They move on to the animal talkers, asking them to communicate with a dog. The object attractors are tested next, with most succeeding, except for one girl who accidentally breaks a vase. The flyers are tested, with Joe struggling to stay grounded without his heavy backpack. Finally, it's Nuri's turn, and they ask her to focus on a cat and transform into one for 6 seconds, succeeding in her task. And Nuri comes with her extra enthusiasm, and everyone is anticipating, and she actually does it. The judge counts 1, 2, and suddenly, instead of being a cat, Nuri becomes a cat with bat wings and something else. And the committee gets scared, but she turns back to normal. She tells them, "Meow, meow," and say to her, "Certainly, artist, who can do what you just did? You'll know the evaluation at the end with others." She says to them, "Okay, thank you, you are a sweet committee," and she leaves them and walks away. All the children were outside waiting for the evaluation result after each one of them had a paper with them. Then the principal came out and said to them, "Honestly, you don't understand how happy I am." And each one took their paper and entered their name. They said to her, "Yes, it's clear on your face that you are truly a good person." She said, "Okay, let's see the papers." And each one of them entered the name they were supposed to enter and belong to. But Nuri found her paper with UDM written on it, and she didn't understand what it was or what it was supposed to mean. Everyone was heading to their section, but the principal told Nuri, "No, my dear, especially you. Go there from here." The girl walked there and kept following the signs until she reached a door in the ground and was still shocked. Someone came out and asked her, "What's going on?" She said, "I'm the one who was walking with you in the morning on the road. They told me I'm here." He said, "Okay, ma'am, go down and read and close the door behind you." She went down and found Joe and the two who failed the test like her. The man said to her, "Here, this is your outfit." She asked, "What outfit? Why are we here, and where are the suits and the nice clothes of the people outside?" He said to her, "My daughter, you are supposed to be smart, and you mess it up while it's flying. You have nothing to do with those people outside, meaning this girl is flying something towards the committee, not her side. This boy is acting like a cigarette, and instead of blowing fire, he's blowing smoke. And this one is flying and can't land, and surely your magic has a problem called upside-down magic. In short, it's called inverted magic. So, you are welcome with us here in the Department of Inverted Magic that will never be fixed." She said, "Yes, but this is not right. Why don't we go out and try like those people outside?" He said, "Honestly, we sit here and study math and science and anything other than magic, if you like it." She said, "No, we don't like it for sure, and it doesn't make sense." The principal came in and said to her, "No, it makes sense because your magic is broken." She said, "What do you mean? And then will you keep us locked up here forever or what?" She said, "No, not forever or anything. This magic is like a muscle. The more you train it and use it, the stronger it will become. But otherwise, it will remain as it is, its power decreasing. And we will treat you like that, and you will stay here until your magic disappears to protect society from your harm." She said, "Our harm? Guys, we are children. We don't want harm." She replied, "You have the right to defend yourself, of course. And I also have the right to tell you why I'm doing this. We have always kept those with inverted magic with the rest of the kids, no problem. But in 39, a very clever boy came, and he was from the fire category. Unfortunately, his magic was inverted, and this upbringing made the perfect host for something called shadow magic. And this shadow magic is an evil, chaotic thing with no purpose other than harm. This shadow magic caught him and caused many disasters. But thank God, we managed to save the situation. Since then, anyone with inverted magic stays here until their magic is broken, and they go out into society to work as an accountant or a lawyer or any other thing, because you are exactly like ticking time bombs, just waiting for a chance, and you'll explode and ruin everything around you. Come on, Sheriff, continue explaining to them." Sheriff said to them, "Okay, we understood the situation and know why we are here, right? And the first lesson today is about how to deal with the destruction of your ambitions and dreams, as happened a while ago, and accept them. Come on, right after me." Then we moved to Rena, who was in the first class in the fire community. Her teacher told them that there is an outgoing competition held every year, and we will choose the best people among you to participate in it for fun. Then she said to her, "Come on, Rena, you are the first one with us. Come and show us if you can pop this popcorn properly or not." She said, "Sure," and went to pop the popcorn, and it was about to be perfect, but it burned, and she didn't know why. Then she asks her, "Why is that?" She replied, "Sorry, it's the stress of the first day." She said, "Okay, but every day is not the first day. Don't get used to it and know that your chances will run out." She said, "Okay, I'm sorry." Then we discovered that Rena was doing well, but a girl did that to her and wanted her to fail in front of the teacher for a certain reason she didn't know. Then we end with Nuri and the rest of the failures, and the teacher tells them, "I have a nice surprise for you." Then he took them to a room in the middle of the school courtyard. He said to them, "Come on," and opened the room, and they found huge brooms inside. Nuri was very happy and looked at him. She said, "I really can't believe it." She went in and took one of them and felt it. Then she went out and tried to jump to fly with it and fell on her face. She said to him, "What is this? It's not magical?" He said to her, "Magical. It's just for sweeping the courtyard." She said, "I thought it was a surprise." The teacher said to her, "What surprise and falling on your face?" She got up and started sweeping the courtyard with all the kids. Then, in the middle of sweeping, Nuri saw the section she was supposed to enter for a lesson. She was very happy and felt that her place was there, and she went to eavesdrop on them while she was sweeping. They were learning a lesson on how to transform into a cat, and they had to focus well. Then the teacher noticed Nuri and said to her, "What brought you here?" She said, "I'm just cleaning." She said, "Cleaning the grass?" She said, "What is this? Just show me that lovely cat." Nuri started examining it well and finally transformed to imitate it. But it backfired, and she turned into an elephant, a chicken, and a third animal. Everyone got scared of her, and the teacher started to make the students look away to continue their focus. At the same time, Sheriff came to take Nuri. He told her, "You can't do that again, and you will be deprived of lunch for this action." She said, "Okay, fine, but I don't want to stay here. I want to sit with them in the dining room." He said, "Okay." And when she went, she found her friends reassuring her, and Joe spoke for the first time and said to her, "The animal you turned into is nice. How did you do it?" She said, "I don't know, but I draw the details here, feel it, and focus on it to do the same." He said, "Great, and your drawing is very good too." She said, "I'll draw all of you soon and show you." Then in this section, Rena saw her from afar and was very happy and got up to go to her. When she got up, Nuri saw her and was about to go to her and greet her. Her teacher saw her and said, "No, you can't go sit with them. You must always be sitting with the fire community because friends influence each other." And then I went back. Rena was returned to her place, and Nuri didn't understand why she did that, but she shrugged it off, thinking everyone is free to do what they want. The next day, Rena goes to class to practice making popcorn again in front of herself and her competitor, who makes some impressive popcorn. It's her turn, but unfortunately, she makes perfect popcorn at first. And then at the end, the teacher tastes it and says, "It's not good." Rena remains upset and stressed because all the pressure is on her. As she leaves the class, she meets the girl who was watching her and tells her that her name is Sandra, and that she's heard only good things about her, that she's the best in her class, and that she shouldn't compare herself to those around her. Sandra offers to help her improve if she wants. Rena thanks her and then goes to study. She meets Nuri, who is sweeping, and asks her what she's doing. Nuri tells her not to worry. It's a secret mission with their group, and asks how she's doing. Rena doesn't want to say anything, so she says she's fine, and asks if Nuri feels good with her new friends. Nuri says everything is great, and they part ways to take care of their business. At night, Rena goes to the library to study and finds a strange book that keeps coming out when she puts it back. Eventually, she takes the book and finds it is black and strange. So she takes it to her room to see what it's about. We discover that the evil girl is behind all this and wants her to take the book. Rena goes to her room, opens it, and finds it full of words about making you better and stronger. A black mist comes out of it and enters her. Meanwhile, Nuri is training with her friends again, transforming into many animals each time. Sharif asks what they're doing, and they say nothing. He tells them it's better that way since they don't pay him well, so he won't care much. The next day, there's a competition among the students to determine the best student in each group to represent them at the graduation ceremony. Rena goes and easily defeats her classmate. Then, just as she's about to continue, Nuri comes in and tells them to stop this nonsense. At that time, Sharif was looking for Nuri, and they told him they hadn't seen her. He asked how that could be, and they told him to forget about it. Rena realized she could transform into anything in duels. He cursed them and ran after her. When they went out, Nuri was asking the principal for another chance to prove herself. The principal refused, and Nuri told her she deserved a chance. She transformed, and the teacher started counting. But Nuri didn't last 4 seconds before transforming into several animals at once. Rena, her friend, tried to calm her down and bring her back to normal, but a huge fireball came out of her that almost hurt Nuri. Nuri returned to her normal state, and Rena tried to apologize, but Nuri said it was okay. They went back to their place in the basement, feeling let down and with no other opportunities. Rena told them to toughen up, saying they should fight for themselves. If they don't fight for their dreams, they don't deserve to live. Sharif came out and told them to come with him. He told them he was like them, supernatural, and still is. Then he sang and called all the animals of the forest around him, saying his magic was reversed. The animals were supposed to respond to him, but it only happened when he sang, not when he spoke normally. He offered them a chance to work with him, saying he had been living there for a long time, not caring about anything until he heard Nuri and decided he wouldn't continue his life like that. He needed to change and try. So, he promised to support them until they could use their magic their way, not the way others wanted. They would start training from the next day. Meanwhile, Rena was confronted by Sandra, who told her to leave and take the book with her. Nuri came, but Rena couldn't speak or say anything, afraid of Sandra because when she left with the book, Rena turned and found the book again. So she didn't let Nuri into the room or talk to her and shut the door in her face. Nuri shrugged and left. The children started training with Sharif every day, each trying to use their abilities for their own goals, regardless of the method, whether it was the way others wanted or not. The important thing was to be good. Sharif helped them see their potential and limits and developed them until they all became proficient in using their abilities. Nuri discovered she could transform into multiple animals at once, not just one. Joe thought he could fly to space but realized he had limits and couldn't control his flight. The girl with the smoke ability learned to control it, and everything was going well. We returned to Rena, who was still being haunted by Sandra. Rena screamed at her in front of people, and they approached her, asking what was wrong. She told them Sandra wouldn't leave her alone. They said there was no one there. Sandra apologized and said she forgot to mention that no one could see her except Rena. Rena realized what was happening and told them it was nothing, just a dream, and they should go back to what they were doing. She went to the dorm, and Sandra appeared to her, trying to tempt her by saying she was very powerful and needed her help, and if Rena agreed, Sandra would help her become great. In the end, Rena agreed, and Sandra entered her. We discover that Sandra is a shadow magic demon. Nuri comes and asks about Rena, and they tell her she's in the dorm, jokingly hoping something falls on her. When she goes up, Rena tells her that things aren't as they seem. Nuri is terrified of her. She asks who she is, and Rena, with black eyes, says she's someone who's been trapped for years, seeking revenge. Nuri runs away, leaving Rena. She goes and tells Sharif and her friends that Rena has been possessed by shadow magic. They tell her it's impossible, but she insists. Sharif asks what they should do. She tells him to wait for a crowded day to act. He asks if there are any crowded days, and she says there is. The graduation party tomorrow. They decide to stay calm and act if something happens. The next day, Rena sees the preparations and gets angry, wanting to unleash the evil within her. At that time, the UDM team is getting ready in case of any disaster to be prepared. The principal goes up to give a speech. The stage welcomes the graduates and their guests. It tells them, "It's been a while, kids." It introduces Rena to perform a dazzling show for them. Rena starts writing big words with fire and says, "That's nice. Do you want more? I'll show you something better." And she performs her famous fireball. It kept growing until they started to worry, and then its shadow grew and turned into shadow magic. Everyone started running, and the principal said, "Oh my, this is not from UDM, and it appeared from another place." She asked the fire handlers to do something, but nothing happened. She asked those who talk to animals to call them, but the animals didn't come because they were scared of the shadow. Then, those who fly couldn't fly either because of the shadow. Things got more complicated until Nuri and her friends came. Each of them began to use their inverted abilities to get rid of the monster. In the end, they managed to restrain it, and Nuri was about to kill it but remembered that her friend was inside, so she didn't do it. She kept trying to wake her friend and talk to her, and in the end, her friend tried to resist the monster and actually destroyed it. When she woke up, she was fine, thank God. All that happened helped ensure that UDM was no longer isolated and ostracized and became part of the school. All its students were distributed to the sections that suited them, and they used their abilities there as usual. Sheriff also became established in his section, and the story ended. This is where it ends. I hope you liked it. Don't hesitate to give us a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the bell icon to receive our videos.